Hi guys, welcome back to 21 Questions with Managers. I'm your host, Erica, and today we've got someone who's really exciting who's going to be talking to us about building interpersonal relationships with your team at work. His name is Tyrone, and he works over at Noke, but I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself as well. So, Tyrone, why don't you go ahead and tell us about what it is that you do over at Noke?
Great, thanks very much for having me here. I'm Tyrone. My name is Tyrone. I'm the director of marketing over at Noke. We are a company that actually has several direct-to-consumer brands. One of the bigger ones is CanadaKennelLifestyle.com. The other one is Locktote.com. We also have a bunch of Amazon-only brands as well. So I'm the director of marketing over there. I manage a really great team of creative professionals, and we do everything from digital advertising to websites. Everything we need around the digital marketing space is kind of what we do.
Sounds like you're aware of many hats with so many things going on. What would you say is your superpower, and why would you categorize that as your superpower?
Well, the superpower that I hope to have is one of agility. I do think that being in this digital first space, you need to be very agile all the time in your marketing. Things could be different. One day, these platforms going to change their algorithms every single day as well. So it's kind of like you need to always be changing what you're doing. There's never one size fits all, if you will.
What would you say is the hardest part about managing your team, given, that need for agility?
Hardest part, sure, not being able to be physically in the same room with somebody, but we've made great strides in kind of solving that issue with all the great virtual options that we have these days.
What are some of the tools that you use in order to cultivate those relationships with your team?
That's a really good question. There's a lot of really good tools online these days with online meeting spaces and things like that. Ourselves, we use Google Hangouts as a big one for us for face-to-face meetings company-wide. Also, we use, of course, Officevibe, which has been a really great tool for us to kind of ensure that we're communicating effectively with our staff and ensuring that everyone is still happy with the work environment and the workload.
Given how many tools there are out there, how do you make sure that you're using the appropriate channels for people that kind of coincides with their preferred methods of communication?
I do think there's a whole level around trust, working with the team and building trust with the team, finding the right way of communicating in a way that people feel open and honest about how they work and how they deliver that work as well. So that's probably my number one thing. I do think we have to kind of also showcase that safe space, if you will.
How would you say you make the time to be able to cultivate those meaningful relationships with your team members?
I make it a priority to have the time to meet with my team. So every single day we do a morning stand-up. It's a quick 30 minutes, 15 minutes to kind of buddy check, making sure everyone's kind of good to go, like from the personal side of things.
How many employees do you manage on your team? Because obviously this is achieved within the confines of how big your team is at the moment, right?
I'm currently managing a team of 5. I have 2 more on the way. We just actually acquired another business, and I'm actually gaining 2 more ladies. Actually, I have a team of 7 women on my team, which is such an honor for me as a leader.
On the scale of 1 to 10, how difficult would you say it is to establish like a proper vibe on the team?
Yeah, I would say a 6. It is a little bit difficult. We're fortunate as well within our company that we do have like a culture manager. She's like a really great HR person.
In terms of, managing a time where the vibe was off, or maybe there was a conflict on your team, what was that like for you, and how did you manage that?
Building an environment, again, of honesty and trust where you can actually kind of lay it out there. There's no reason to have a conflict that lasts more than what it should. So
if you had to give a piece of advice to a manager who's out there now who's trying to manage conflict on their team, what would you say to them?
Feel free to ask the challenging questions, and if there's anything that you can do as a manager or as a company as a whole to kind of prevent that or alleviate some of that, that's the real questions I would ask.
If you've experienced a time where there have been kind of conflicting issues that have gone on with your team, how do you prioritize that?
Priority usually is given to some of the stuff that we can measure around, data-driven approaches, if we kind of see that one person's conflict is something that's really driving down the performance of several other people,
Do you use Officevibe for that? And if you do, what kind of tool within the Officevibe sort of ecosystem has really worked for you?
So we do use Officevibe for all of the general surveys that Officevibe has. It's really a great place for us to kind of showcase high level and even diving deeper in how people work and how they experience. Sometimes it's about information too. Some people don't have all the information, and through these surveys, we're actually kind of seeing where we need to kind of educate our staff more. One of the other things that I use in Officevibe is the custom surveys from the managerial level. So when I do see maybe some numbers dropping because of satisfaction in the workplace, I do build my own surveys and I ask my team directly, please give me information on how I can improve the situation.
So what would you say is the hardest muscle to cultivate or to shape as a leader?
Sometimes as a leader, we receive information and we have to make quick decisions about the business objectives or performance objectives, things like that. But the one that we need to lean into more is just to be more empathetic towards our employees. You can be a leader and you can just feel like you know everything and that's how you're driving your business. But in my view, if you can always be learning from your staff, your employees, asking questions, always be curious.
What are signs to you that things are going well?
When I know things are going well is when my employees feel really safe to share their learnings and their own wins across the company.
What are you looking forward to the most?
To get the real world feedback and to be able to allow myself to actually grow within my role. So I definitely think that constant feedback loop that we talk about, is so important. And it's not just important in your marketing, it's important in your interpersonal relationships as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. This has been 21 Questions with Tyrone, and we've talked about how to lead with a growth mindset and with empathy, among so many other things. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was such a pleasure catching up with you.
Thank you.